Welcome to South Aussie Shooting Channel. Today we are reviewing the high precision watt meter and power analyzer, 150 amps. This is used to find out what your power consumption is, and anything that uses 12 volt power to find out how much amps it's running, how many amps and hours it's running, how many watts it needs to run. The battery voltage, similar to the battery monitor. This one costs $19.95 off eBay, free postage. Comes in this little box. It's a no-name brand, just off eBay. Some specs here. It operates at 4.8 to 60 volts and OV with optional auxiliary battery, measures 0 to 150 amps, resolution 0.01 amps, and 0 to 60 volt resolution to 0.01 volt. It also has the 06554W resolution 0.1 watt and 0 to 65 amp hour resolution and 0.001 amp hour and 06554 watt hours resolution 0.1 watt hour. The 16 to 2 backlit LCD display, and it's 82 grams. Also got this with Anderson plugs to plug it in, which is easier if all your electronics in your car run off of Anderson plugs. It's very easy to do. Have to get a crimper yourself and place the ends of the wires in here. But as it comes in this box, that's what it looks like. It's fairly small. There's the positive and negatives here. They've already been pre-soldered. You'll cut off a little bit of the end and get rid of that, so then you can have these have a little bit more contact on them. These normally are around $40 in Australia. You can find them anywhere even cheaper off eBay for $10.70. There's different wattage sizes. There's 200 amp, 150, 130 amps. I haven't used this unit at all yet. Need the crimper, and that'll be on a follow-up video. Just read the instructions out on how to use it. It has a big piece of paper. Tells you safety precautions. A rechargeable battery or watt meter connected to a rechargeable battery can supply huge currents and cause fire, explosions, personal injury and damage to equipment. Ensure all wiring and connections are rated to handle the output and input current and properly assembled for each application. And says the input voltage and current handling limitations. The watt meter is designed to safe in systems using less than 60 volts and carrying currents of up to 130 amps. Caution: exceeding these limits will damage the watt meter and cause personal injury. The wiring connections implying power. It's a warning: losing connections can cause component damage. Only switch power between meter and load. The red power source wire goes to the positive battery and the device terminals black to negative. User is responsible for attaching the connections rated handle to the voltage and the current expected in user applications. Qualified individuals should make sure that high current connections verify there are no exposed wires or connectors that may shunt circuit before connecting the battery and power source to the watt meter. Only use female connectors on batteries. By connecting an auxiliary battery, receive a battery of 4.8 to 60 volts to source 3-pin connector. The watt meter can measure down to 0 volts. The display screen. Startup screen. Each time the power is applied across the watt meter leads auxiliary power connector, a startup screen logo will briefly display peaks and minimums, and amp hours, watt hours are reset to 0. Then the display changes. Measurement screen. The measurement screen continuously displays amps, volts and watts. All other measured values are presented sequentially every 2 seconds. In a data queue, position of display data values are identified by their units. Screen values are updated every 0.4 seconds. The measurement screen layer, amps, volts, watts and data queue. The data queue shows amp hours, watt hours, amp peaks, volt and watts per hour in sequence. The diagram here. We've got current in amps and amps. Only current from source to load is measured. Amps value displayed is the average current over the last screen. Update interval, peak amps value. AP display is the maximum current drawn from the load side. Since the meter's data peaks lasting only a fraction of a second can be captured. Supply the auxiliary power with the volt greater than the meter is measured. Removes the meter's operation current from measurements. To reduce metering heating, measure currents over 65 amps from a reduced time and consider using connectors which can handle large current. Voltage and minimum volts. The display volts value the average volts over the last screen update interval. The displayed minimum volts value is the minimum voltage, or say measured on the source side. Since the startup screen ended, the volts measure is measured on the source side. Energy in watt hours. The display value is the total energy delivered in watt hours since the startup screen ended. Is the measured on the load side for the accurate results. Be careful not to interrupt the source connection to the watt meter during the energy management. Charge is amp hours. The display value is the total energy in amp hours times 1000 equals mAh. Delivered since the startup screen ended and is measured in the load side for accurate results. Be careful not to interrupt the source connection of the watt meter during charge measurement. Power watts and peak watts is displayed value is average power delivered in watts. Volts times amps over the last screen interval. The display peak watts value WP is maximum power drawn on the load side since the startup screen ended. Watts value are measured in load side. Reverse page. Busing watt meter. You can think of a watt meter as a set of jumper leads. Connect it to the same way that you can measure what the jumper wires are connected to. Like jumper wires, the watt meter is essentially a direct connection between the same coloured source and load wires. Both the source and the load leads are electronically hot. When a battery is connected to either side, current flows from the source to the load and make sure connections are secure to prevent component damage. Gives an example. Battery on the source side, motor speed controller, and motor load side with the ESC on. The watt meter shows that the current into the motor voltage and power at the battery accumulates to amp hours and watt hours while the motor is running. Example 2 is with the battery charger on the source side, the battery pack on the load side. The watt meter shows the charging current into the battery, the voltage and charging power at the battery, and accumulate the charge and amp hours and energy watt hours into the battery. Function and power analyzer measures 8 parameters key to electronic power safety and performance, used to prevent peak currents damaging battery, motor controller, motors, wiring and connectors. Verify sufficient operating voltage under load, set cutoff voltages, check battery capacity and health, balance battery cells, confirm proper battery charge operation, detects, receives actual operating current as to make sure whether the UBEC is needed. It's got the battery here connected to the positive, negative, the source side, load side to the speed control, and the motor or brush or brushless motors for load testing. Example motors. If you're doing battery charging, you'd get the battery from the source side, putting the load side onto the battery, and plugging jumper wires. Then we have battery discharging. Show auxiliary battery connected to allow measurement down to 0 volts, or OV if using auxiliary battery. Then the positive are both connected to the auxiliary, the negative is connected to another battery, and the load connects us to the discharge load. And this one's receiver and servo testing. Auxiliary battery, a receiver battery, and the load is on the receiver, servo 1 and servo N, your adapter jumper wires, and just a little legend to say what these mean. The plug connector, socket connector, power source, loads, and just a little bit of specs that we said during the start. And thanks for watching. Subscribe.